Marty, go. Thank you for being here, Marty. Go ahead and unmute. The floor is yours, brother. What is your opinion on the passport bros?
I don't have a problem with the passport bros. Now, I advocate on first off, how's it going, brother?
What's up, brother? Listen.
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I want to share a little bit of love and peace with you because we do disagree on this topic, and I
I
think this is
know,
the
Marty,
first time
Marty,
that we
Marty, Marty.
disagree.
You, I heard, listen. You remember when we were on Gail's live? That was the first time you and I addressed the passport bros together. So I already know how you were coming, but
Yeah,
it's all love. We still business
yeah,
partners.
it's all
It's all
love.
love, bro. Go ahead.
We got to hear it from both sides, right? So
Right.
here's the, here's the thing. I don't advocate for passport bros. I understand them, right? I get it, right? But for me, I advocate for men to look for traditional wives here in the US first, right? Because I don't like to make our women a monolith where we say, hey, there are no good black women. Because I meet incredible black women. I know incredible black women. I experience incredible black women on this app on a daily basis, right?
Right.
So I don't,
Exactly.
I, yeah, so I don't put it out there that there are no good black women. But this is the first premise I want you guys to think about. How many ladies will want to try to find a husband in Afghanistan where Sharia law and the men correct the women by slapping the shit out of them when they talk too much? How many, that's the way those men are socialized. They believe in hitting their women to correct them, right? Instead of working through things and talking stuff out. How many women would want to live in that country and try to find a husband? Now imagine you're in a country that preaches, pushes, has a dominant narrative towards men being that way. And then if you want to leave to find a husband that's not going to slap the shit out of you, then people are like, hey, you're weak. You can't find a good man. You just can't take it. Bitch, you got a glass jaw. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want. So this is, you can't tell me that women in the US, in the West, are being raised and being socialized to be traditional women. And so men who do want traditional outcomes in marriage and dating and relationships, a lot of them are sick and tired of arguing with women about what it means to be submissive, arguing with women and going back and forth about what it means to be a wife, trying to have authority in their household, whether or not they need to deal with some other man's kids and all of this type of shit. There's a lot of men who don't want to deal with that. All right. And to try to just demonize these men or put them all in this Pookie and Ray Ray bucket so we don't have to deal with the reality of the response that there are some men who are simply walking off the fucking chessboard, right, is disingenuous. To mischaracterize what they're doing and what they're saying so that we can diminish why they're doing it and what they're saying is, I think, is a bullshit position to take. Because here's what they're actually saying. Here's what you feel about what they're saying, and then there's what they're actually saying. They're saying, hey, I'm moving over to this country and not coming back. So bringing a woman here and her being able to work over a year later, that's irrelevant because most of these men, their desire is to not come back. I've sat inside of their lives. I've sat on their channels on YouTube. I've listened to their long form content so that I can speak intelligently about the ideas that underpin their premises. And the concept is to leave and to get a job that allows you to make money in the US online using VPNs, go over there and stay. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I'm prior service military. I saw a lot of men leave in the military, go marry women in other countries. My uncle growing up, Uncle Sam, my Uncle Sam had a Vietnamese wife. I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in Detroit and I saw lots of women who were, or kids who were Blasians because they dad, while they was in the military, married a woman from another country while he was deployed. So let's not pretend like these women don't want to marry black men. Let's not pretend like these women do not want us. We are the most desirable men on the planet next to white men statistically, right? There's no other group of men that women desire more than black men, right? We're the most masculine, most powerful. On average, we have the biggest penises. It is statistically true. You can look it up, right? So you can say whatever it is that you want, but there's a section of our men who are taking their lives and moving them out of the country because they want to start families. It's not for sex tourism. It's not so that they can try to victimize these women or beat on these women or any of the other wild shit that's being said. It's because if you are a man who is looking for a traditional wife in America, The culture is Afghanistan. The culture for those women is Afghanistan. Noble, you cannot tell me that you think we have an abundance of traditional women in our community and in our culture. I work hard to try to inform women of what those traditions are, what the expectations are, how to think, move, and act in a way that's going to get you a man of value. And I also work hard to talk to men about how to build their values so that they're worthy of those type of women, right? But for us, in any realistic regard, to pretend like there's an abundance of those women here in the U.S. that are in our community, our culture, is just disingenuous. It's complete
let me
bullshit.
rebuttal really quick, Marty. Let me rebuttal really
Go
quick.
ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 10:42. Y'all have 7 minutes to get the likes up to 20K. Otherwise, like I am gonna end this live. So I know I have my moderators in here. I'm not gonna cut Marty off again. So hopefully y'all can do your job. But if I don't have 20K likes in 7 minutes, I am going to end this live. Um, but Marty, no, Marty, you're 100% right in that statement. You know, I say that all the time. Like that's why I say, like, I say what I mean. I mean what I say. When I say most, I do mean most when I be saying what I say. And the only thing is, Marty, yes, I agree with you, but while those other women may be a needle in the haystack, they're up here, Marty. Like you said, like
I
Marty,
agree,
same
and
way,
I
Marty, same
advocate
way
for
you
those
said,
women.
Marty, same way you said that, like some of these women that we communicate with on here that you wouldn't communicate with them in real life. Vice versa. Same way that you have a great black mother, you have a great black daughter, you experience great black women in your real life. Like we know these women exist and we know they're out here. So for these men, Marty, to try to make it seem like they can't get one, Marty, just one, Marty, because this is my thing, Marty. Most of these men are not polygamous men, and most of these men are not anybody that they can't go to a woman and like tell her you're gonna be with me, but I'm just gonna be with multiple women and be able to do what I want to do. Like, let's be real. Most of those men are not having a situation like that. So for Marty, for you to experience all the great black women that you experience, for me to experience all the great black women that I experience, for all of us black men on this panel, for us to experience all the great black women that we experience in everyday society, for these men to say they can't find one, that's hard for me to buy, Marty. Go ahead, Marty. Go ahead.
So, here, like right now, we're already in a position where there's an abundance of women. The women outnumber the men in our community. And in our community, with the women, the dominant narrative is you have to convince me what submission is, convince me to submit to you, marital submission, right? I'm not talking about slavery for women who are triggered by
Yep.
that word. I'm
Yep.
talking about marital submission, a default position of agreeability and willful cooperation with a man that you see as the leader of your household. That's what that is. That's not a man who gets to punk you, who doesn't give you any equity in the home. If a man picks a wife and doesn't pick a woman that is an incredibly wise counsel that he listens to, then he is wasting the most important position in his life on a fool, right? So we're not talking about picking some woman that you can beat up and boss around, right? What we are talking about is women who believe that they should be in a leadership position in the household. We got a dominant narrative right now on our women within our women where they're seriously arguing for a matriarchal leadership situation
That's
where
facts.
they want to be in lead. They want men to submit to them. The man needs to submit to me too. There are men who don't want to have this conversation and try to coach women out of this shit anymore. They just want a wife like Arab men have, like Asian men have, like Indian men have, like white men have, like every other culture of men have, where they don't have women who are fighting for control and dominance. We are having conversations, Noble, about fucking body count. The women want to be able to walk around and fuck like the worst men in the group. They don't want to be like the best men who aren't out here slaying everything, right? And approach their body with some respect. They want the right to be able to behave like the very worst men with absolutely no stigma or anything. And they say, hey, if you judge me off my past, then that's because you got a little dick and you're scared that you can't please me. Men, a lot of men they don't have the patience that you and I have for these conversations. They're like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm not a talker. I'm not somebody who's trying to fix the community. I have a job and I want a family and I don't want to fight for control in my own home. I don't want to fight for the concept of authority. And there are plenty of women who believe in male authority and leadership in the household. And I will just go and get one of those women. And so Passport Bros are a group of men where the solution they have come up with to the problem of trying to women, our women say, what, you got to put me in my submission, you got to put me in my feminine, I'll submit to the right man if he does this and he can put me in my place. If you can tell me what to do, then you can tell me what to do. But if you can't tell me what to do, then you can't tell me what to do. Man, there's a lot of men who don't want to deal with that bullshit. And so they're not. And that, to me, that doesn't make them weak, right? Everybody's life isn't meant to be some fight to get you to know your fucking natural place. There's no in a marriage. So if that's you and you need somebody to fucking headlock, wrestle, submit your ass into your own femininity, then there is a section of guys who just don't want to deal with that shit, who still want families and still want wives. And you can say that they got little dicks and that you can say whatever you want about them because they're not dealing with you anymore. They're walking off the chessboard. And you can characterize them any way that you want. We can call them all weak, noodle back motherfuckers with little dicks and all that. You can say all of the stuff you want about them because they don't care because they're leaving. And I'm going to tell you something. I've sat in rooms and lives with these guys. I've sat on YouTube lives. I've done interviews with these guys. I've done 2 interviews with Austin Holloman. Everybody knows who he is, right? And these men are sharing information about how to establish themselves in other countries. They have lawyers. I said on 2 lives where they had lawyers who lived in other countries who were teaching the men how to leave the country. And then they had a whole bunch of guys who had effectively left the country and started their life elsewhere. And these men, maybe they weren't $500,000 a year earners, but they were able to live incredibly cheap. And they went over the bills and the cost of living and all of these things that they had and said, bro, I am living a fucking dream off of a $70,000 a year job here in Rio, here
Right.
in the Philippines.
Right.
So you can mischaracterize the shit any way that you want to make everybody feel better. And I'm not saying you're doing that to make
I
you
know.
feel
I
better.
know.
I'm saying
I know.
people are doing it. You can do it any way you want. But you're not losing your low earners. Your Pookies aren't the one leaving. Your Ray Rays aren't the one leaving because they don't mind your behavior. The Pookie and the Ray Ray, he don't care about your behavior. He's the one telling you about no body count don't matter because he don't have no standards for himself, so he don't have no standards for you. So he's not the one that's leaving. The men who are leaving are men who want traditional wives and are sick of arguing with our women about them behaving that way. And we are trying to grow that sector of our women that are traditional wives, but we have to be honest about the fact that there isn't a lot of them right now. There just isn't.
Oh,
And because most of them have been raised in postmodern feminist bullshit. And
yeah.
so when you talk to them, you hear all of this fucking garbage about them trying to act and move and behave like men. And people don't want to hear that shit. Husbands do not want to argue with their wives about that shit. And they're not. So you got a sector of guys who are walking off the board. Now, are there men who are calling themselves passport boys and are trying to weaponize this against black women where they're like, bitch, I'm done with you. And they're making
Right.
content and these guys ain't traveled nowhere, can't travel nowhere, and ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Yes, those Negroes exist.
Right.
Yes, they do. But to try to paint the whole passport bro movement with that brush is a mischaracterization, is disingenuous.
Okay. Yeah.